Good day, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of SpectrumCast. We've been doing the Modern Data Protection podcast, and now we've added a whole new segment around the technology partners that add value to the IBM Spectrum portfolio, specifically Spectrum Protect. I'm here with my co-host, Randy Arsenault. Morning, Randy. And hey, Powell. How are you, Powell? From Storware.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're good.
You, Steve. I'm good. I feel good.
You feel good?
Look good.
Munchka? Munchka, did I pronounce it correctly? I'm going to try to pronounce your name correctly. Munchka?
Yeah, this is quite good. It's Munchka, exactly. Nice, nice one.
All right, right on. I'm not going to do it again probably, but good. All right.
How about it's easier? I think the cope with the name. Let's keep it short. Pavel or Paul, whatever.
There we go.
Fair enough.
So, Paul, let's start with a little bit about you and Storware. I have to tell you, from what I see from my perspective, Storware does this great thing with the thing called the backup monster. And that really started to get me thinking more about how do you start to connect technology and give it a personality, right? But take me through Storware, kind of how you started, and then maybe evolve into your whole backup monster scheme if you want.
Okay, so a little bit about the history and myself. First of all, I'm really glad to be the part of your show. So you need to know that I'm the ex-IBMer. I used to work in IBM 2006, 2010, and even still today, I feel, one of my hand or whatever is still the part of the IBM. Even right now, even I'm working and building the Storware as an independent company. So not only from the technology perspective, but also I believe the mindset is still to cooperate with you guys with the portfolio. But how you ask about the backup monster, how it started? It was actually 2013, something like, it was middle of 2013. And, I've been working in the system integrator. We did lots of IBM Spectrum Protect implementation. I don't know if you are aware, but there was an idea to sell the Spectrum Protect as an appliance. There are a few companies worldwide who did this thing, but we called it TSM box, and we started to sell it all in one philosophy, like, server on the platform like Spectrum Protect, the TSM, of course, and the services and the software. And we've seen that, okay, there is a space that we can build some add-on, not only as a system integrator, but there is a beauty spot where we can cooperate with the IBM and do something more. And for those of you who don't know, the Spectrum Protect since the last decade or even more has the open API, which allows you to do in actually everything, but it demands you the knowledge and the elements of the passion to do a great stuff. And that was one of the reasons when we said, hey, if we can develop with the Spectrum Protect, with the Spectrum Protect team, and if we have the philosophy and the passion to do it more with the IBM as a system integrator, but also as the independent software vendor, why do not go into this direction? And the backup monster is, it's I many times saying it's kind of the behavior and believing that we should go into and modernize the backup and recovery platforms. And I believe the Storware and the mission of the Storware is to give the customer the best what we could have from the Spectrum Protect as we first started the company and the projects. Right now, also the best from our platforms that we have in our portfolio. So in long story short, Steve, because I'm techie and talkie guy, 2013, the passion to work in the backup and recovery industry. And I believe as a young person, yet 2013, not today, it's all about, how to little bit even change the direction and how to be in this market, not only as not only as an integrator, but how to give my passion, my, let's say, technology drive, and make it happen, building software in the end.
That was fantastic, and I love the passion. I mean, clearly, this is something that you've been involved in for a long time. You've taken your solution space and your vision, and you've really kind of turned it into, you've branded it, and you've turned it into something that's kind of more, I would say, kind of exciting and aspirational. And you've turned something which is often perceived as kind of boring and necessary, and you've made it into something that's a real value add. So that's awesome. I think that's a really cool story. While the Spectrum portfolio is not the newest, coolest, shiniest object in the marketplace, it is still very widely used. It's still incredibly powerful. It's very mature. It's very robust. It's very capable, and it's very open. So that's great to hear.
But we need to be aware that it's still demanding. So it's not for everybody, but definitely you are still on a good track. So I always saying to the business partners or the distribution, do not think that this shiny thing as a new product or the startups will make you better, not only money, but make you better implementation. I heard lots of, even competitive installation when the customer said everything was, looks so brilliant, one technology, some newest architecture, but in the end, we get in more problems that we used to have. But this is a general problem where, people believe more than in the marketing than in the technology. But it's 2020, everybody has its own opinion and have the rights to go into this direction.
Absolutely.
I like what you've done with it, Paul. And Randy and I follow a gentleman named Simon Sinek, and he's a great TED Talk speaker and everything. And he talks about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And you guys truly exemplify the why behind, the passion and the feeling behind doing this. You guys also have a little interesting twist. You guys have a band. Tell me about the band for Storware.
This is the best part.
Let's rock.
What? I wanna make it a god tonight.
I have two bands actually. One is my private one. First band I was playing when I was in high school. And then I believe that when the first time I have some gig, as a 16 years old, I couldn't play well. Still, I don't play well. But then I believe that, I'm Rocky, there's hundreds of people, I will do my best. Then when I saw the video after 10 years, I said, oh, that was really crappy. But it actually doesn't matter. It gives me, the power to do something more. There are three things that are changing my attitude, that giving me the power to do something more than, I'm always saying, as a person, it's the mountains, this is the music, and this is my children. So there are three fields when I feel really power. And the music is one of the reasons when I forget about everything what's going on, around me, and I can focus only to creating some things. It doesn't matter if I'm, amateur or virtuoser, but it's all about to have spending a good time. So I'm trying always. Unfortunately, there is no Jan Sobiesztański with me who is playing the drums, but we always saying with Jan that let's try to make this passion and this funny part also into the Storware philosophy, Storware mission. So not only provide and modernize backup, but also build the culture, organization culture based of the trust and really good communication and the music. That's why when you observing the Storware, you see the backup monster, but also the Bear Machine band that we created a year ago, and the band is connected with and it's built by everybody that working in the Storware. So Jan Sobiesztański, CEO, is playing drums. Marcin Tomaszek from marketing is playing guitar. Patrycja Mrowiec, she's the CMO, chief marketing officer. She's she's singing or screaming, if somebody say, and myself playing the guitar. So we trying to, not only think about the work, but we know that our passion and the communication is also going into our private life. So we always try to, doing our best in real life and trying to take this energy into the company. And I believe we are quite good at it, on it.
I think every company should have a house band. That's awesome.
I agree. So Paul, tell me a little bit, why specifically backup? What in your mind said backup, and then why partner with IBM?
Because, when I started to, develop in this market and, understanding this market, I know that backup gives you the ability to see the infrastructure, even right now, the cloud or containerization widely. None of all of the people, because many of the other industries saying, oh, you are the backup guy, it's quite boring. And say, no, you don't understand the basics. When you're doing the backup, you need to speak with the virtualization guys, with the network guys, with the cloud guys. And you have quite a big picture what's going on inside the companies. What is more, the backup, that behind the backup is always the data. You also know that the data is the 21st century oil. And I believe that data and the data protection actually drive us and giving us a place where we can help companies to achieve what if they lose in the business continuity, or what if they will lose any of the megabyte of the critical data. So you know exactly how the industry works. So we are really glad that we're not only protecting the data, but helping and ensuring that the data will be restored properly in 100%. And what I noticed when I was working in IBM, that actually IBM has the best solution on the market, because we always, when I spoke worldwide with the customers, they said, okay, maybe this is not the best shiny software, but it gives me the assurance in case of data loss. And I was remember and the quality of the support. And I said, okay, maybe this is the most important part in this whole industry. Do not only concentrating on what we can do from the backup perspective, but is our insurance giving us the ability to restore in 100%? Mm-hmm. And I believe IBM has it still in 2020. That's why the partnering with the IBM is so cool still.
Yeah, well, and that's cool to hear. And I think you hit on something that we talk about a lot, which is that as data has continued to evolve and emerge as an absolutely critical core asset, for every organization in 2020 and for a decade or more, I mean, data really is the most critical asset and the most important renewable resource for any organization or any agency or entity. And the value of that data continues to not only increase, but also become more widespread. In other words, data can be reused in multiple different ways, and we can extract more value from data. And backup and recovery and data reuse is one of the ways that we can do that in a really efficient, very economical way. So I think it's interesting because you've been very much on the leading edge of that trend and that development as it's occurred, that sort of transformation from, boring, put it on a tape and throw it in a secure site somewhere, to really extracting maximum, multiplicative value out of all of your data, which is really cool. So you've kind of seen it develop, and you've played a significant role in making that happen, which is really cool.
And the part of our direction as a Storware is to see, okay, where are the places where maybe the IT or the other backup vendors, I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't see enough, they don't have enough attention or the money behind to cover this kind of the workloads. So that's also the Storware history, where we started to build the products and touching the niche markets like open hypervisors or even the mobiles.
So let's dive into the technology a little bit, Paul, now that we're going down that direction. Storware has solutions for Spectrum Protect, and they have solutions just recently came out with some capabilities to help Spectrum Protect Plus with things like Office 365. You want to take us through a few of the capabilities that you have and tell us a little bit more about them?
Sure. So let's divide our product portfolio into the three parts. The first one is the product called vProtect, and the vProtect is made to do in a backup for the we're saying other hypervisors than the VMware and the Hyper-V. We of course has this capability, but we believe that even with the integration with the Spectrum Protect, giving us a better results if the SPP or the Spectrum Protect taking the part of the VMware and the Hyper-V. But we asking the question, okay, what if you have other workloads like KVM-based, Xen-based, Nutanix Acropolis, or even the OpenStack? So we have this option to also back up agentless, this kind of the hypervisors, take this workload and put into the Spectrum Protect in the end. Like I said before, via the native API. So we have a native integration between our component. So in this scenario, vProtect is treated as a media server or the dedicated clients like TSM for VE, but for the other hypervisors. So this is the great news, because still many of the business partners doesn't know that they have this kind of the capability to put these workloads into the Spectrum Protect server. So this is the first product. The second one is the Codo line. You know why Codo?
Tell us.
And what is, this is the Japanese name. There's a Codo drummers. 1,000 years ago, they
war drums. War drums,
drums,
right?
They beat the rhythm. Mm-hmm. And we decided, okay, we need something that will take care of the data on the edges, like laptops, like mobiles, and we need the harmony to exchange this data between these devices. So we invented. Jan said that it should be Codo, and I said, no, hell, Mazda has it, and it's all about the shape. But it's not only about the shape. Let's take it and name it as a product. So that's why we decided that Codo will take the edge devices. We started with laptops and mobile devices. We still have the laptops data protection like macOS and the Windows with the CDP, continuous data protection. And I still believe that this is one of the products that it still, really rocks, because on the right click, you have the option to restore the specific version on your laptops. And when you click right click, you can see the version from the Spectrum Protect. So it's really fast, and it can work in a scale like 1,000 or 2,000 laptops plus, with the really nice UI and central management. And the Codo is only working with the Spectrum Protect. So it's a native extension for the laptops. We decided a year ago to get rid of the mobiles. We haven't seen so much attention here, but we still keep the edges like laptops, and especially in the ransomware and the COVID life, and then all of the remote workers, we've seen this functionality is significantly growth. We need to be aware that still some of the data, it stays on the laptops, not only in the data centers. And so we decided to have two lines in a Codo for endpoints, this is the laptop, and Codo for cloud, this is the Office 365 data protection. For working with the Spectrum Protect again, in the SPP, it's important that you need to know that Spectrum Protect Plus has its own native Office 365 capability, and we're looking forward to have more functions in the next months. And the last product, so we have a Codo, we have a vProtect, and the last product called Flycode. And this is the way how we can manage Spectrum Protect servers in a different approach, a little bit different way than you have today, even on the operation center. There is many partners who has its own option to manage Spectrum Protect servers. I do not feel that this is a great place to say who is better or not. I think it's a place where I just can mention that you have this option, this product called Flight Code Console to manage Spectrum Protect. Please try and make a decision. I believe this is also our knowledge and best practices how to cope with the huge scale and help admins to make the daily operation with the Spectrum Protect is much more easier way than they used to have. So 3 products, 3 lines, but you've seen there is a lots of Spectrum Protect when I mention. So the story is still continuing, and we helping our distributors and partners, the customers, to achieve this. We also fill the gaps in case of other hypervisors, laptops, or the management part.
Can you share a little bit, Paul? I believe, because I know, IBMers can sell the Office 365 component on top of Spectrum Protect Plus. Can IBM sell the solutions that you have in conjunction with the IBM the Spectrum Protect portfolio? And, are you in our price book? And can our partners also, who want to add on things like Kodo or something like that, also sell that solution as well?
In a Kodo in vProtect, we are not on the price list, so it's still, we are treated as an independent vendor. So the easiest way is to speak internally with the IBM sales or to with us. We are validated in all the global directory services with all of our solution. We are certified in every year we renew it. In a Spectrum Protect Plus, this is a totally different story. We work in both companies to make this Office 365 backup better in each version. But in a daily basis, you will not find our price lists yet, or we'll see, but not today. It's a totally independent sales. But no worries, that we have lots of success stories with you, and with many cases that you can find the success stories with both companies that we grab.
So, excuse me. Again, I'll just reiterate, I think it's really cool that you're bringing together kind of this emerging trend or emergence trend in the industry towards more valuable, reuse of data and protection of data. You've been on the leading edge of it for a long time. I think you're bringing a really interesting, passionate point of view into what is a kind of crowded and often, frankly, sort of boring markets. So huge props for that. I think that's great. I think you're really a great example, and Storware is a great example of what's possible, right? What can be done when you have a good technology partnership, a vision, industry knowledge and awareness, and really a passion to kind of make it work and bring it together. So kudos. It's a lot of fun. It's a cool story, I think.
Thank you, Randy. It's important to understand that it's not only about us. I believe, and I encourage more partners in the IBM ecosystem. Also, if you have a knowledge and you know that you can invest or give more than the typical system integrator, do not hesitate to contact IBM folks, development, and work on something bigger. We did it as a startup, starting from the 3 persons. Right now, we in both companies we are roughly about 50 people after 5 years. So it's you need to know your value and be quite persistent in which direction you go. But it's important to know that your team we've been still helpful, not only from the development perspective, but also how to properly partnering. So also lots of good tension and feelings about the cooperation. So I'm advising more customers or partners to go into this direction.
Great. Give me a couple minutes on your thought around container data protection. We've talked a lot about VMware, some desktop backup. The world seems to be kind of evolving into this notion around containers. What's your thought there?
My thoughts is that we've been one of the first companies that we started the containers backup OpenShift in the Kubernetes, and I still believe that there is some more talks about it, but not a huge number of the customers they do in the POCs. This is what we've seen, but not many customers still yet decided to invest into the proper data protection platforms. I've seen that because of the many projects are still in the DevOps phase and they're not going into the production. So this is one of the reasons why I don't see a huge movement here, but it will change in the next 6-12 months. So this is what I noticed, that this is the natural wave of getting the interest, a little bit waiting, and the decision, okay, we are under production, we need to go with it. But the funny part is that we've seen that many customers, they started to treat it containers like VMs. And there is always playing and discussion, why do I need the containers backup? It should be stateless. There's a cattle and pets, so I don't need to protect them. But believe me, in most cases, because of some lack of understanding or even the business decision, more and more containers are stateful and they have the data that you should be protected in a daily basis. We've seen this movement, especially in the industry like banks, financing, banking, finance, where we have a huge OpenShift in the Kubernetes products. But in the years, we'll see that even from the VMware, like VMware Tanzu, or I don't know if you know, lately OpenShift called, there's a new product called OpenShift Virtualization. So they're trying to make, the VMs inside the containers. So the VM on the container, not in the opposite way. And the Red Hat is believing that in 5 years, many of the enterprises will go into this direction. VMware is saying different way. Everybody should put the containers on the virtualization.
Yeah, that's going to be that's going to be the next big that's going to be the next big battlefront. Yeah, or one of them anyway. You're right, and it's an interesting phenomenon as it emerges.
I really like the Red Hat approach. It's from my perspective, it's much more challenging. For the VMware, it's only put the containers or the existing ESXi. But I know that the Red Hat has this is my personal statement. Do not take it as a market trend. But Red Hat knows better how to make this direction and properly make these directions. I will sign on to your team because I agree, and I think that it also, as an added advantage, provides kind of a bridging technology to get people from this massive VMware deployment model into a fully containerized model in a more seamless and painless way. So I'm in complete agreement. Yeah, but this is also challenging for us as a backup and recovery vendors, because the customers in the next few years, they will stop to use the workloads that we used to use. And they said, okay, we have only cloud, hybrid cloud, the OpenShift, and there is a tiny little thing like, running on my VMs, what to do next. It's hard to imagine today, but this shift is going, and we will see, like I said, in months from the decision-making point of view, but we need for this shift at least 5-6 years. For some folks, it's no, we'll keep on virtualization. I'm not saying virtualization will disappear, but the virtualization will not be a minor workload that our customers will looking for.
Right. Great. Thanks for that. I think the more and more that data protection evolves, and the more folks are starting to think about kind of what's coming next, having a thought leader like yourself give us a little bit of perspective is very helpful. I want to go back for a second and let's talk a little bit about, you've got your 3 products that you told us about that are technologies built on top of and around Spectrum Protect and Protect Plus. Can you provide us maybe some business value that you've seen some of your clients have with taking advantage of utilizing Storware technology on top of these platforms?
I think one of the use case customers that they always, I don't know why, but they really like us. Weird. They're from Australia, and they had a Spectrum Protect server, and they've been looking for the Acropolis. They purchased the 3 nodes of the hyperconverged infrastructure base of the Nutanix, and decided to look in. Okay, let's see what we have there. They started with the rubric. They started with Vim, and in the end they said, hey, there is a Storware which allows us to do not replace the Spectrum Protect, and we like the Spectrum Protect in the end. And they, reach us, they test it, and they said, whoa, we thought that, you will help to put the data onto the Spectrum Protect, but we didn't know that you have a better functionality than the competition that they saying that they're most mature. And this company is one of the biggest service provider in Australia. They right now raised from the 3 to 12 host of the Nutanix, and they really satisfied because they using roughly about 1,000 VMs, and they have everything into the Spectrum Protect, so they don't need to change the way how they cope with the offsite data, etc. So they don't need to change the data workflow process and the data management, and they are still one of our, let's say, reference that we use in worldwide when we speak with the other Spectrum Protect customers. So this is one of the cases.
So Acropolis was the last project I worked on before I left Nutanix. So I'm feeling very warm inside right now. That's a good story.
No, Nutanix is a great story. So I love the Acropolis, the vision, and even the way how we could cooperate with the Nutanix folks. But cool. important for the Nutanix and for the customers, if you have a Nutanix KVM OpenStack, you don't need to find a new island. You can still use the Spectrum Protect with the Storware as an add-on, let me try to make a second shot, I believe. So one is the Nutanix. Second one, I believe is the laptops. So like I mentioned, Codo endpoint. We have some in client industry, they working in finance. So roughly about 800 laptops, and the decision that we do not go into the Microsoft 365 OneDrive, or even if we will go, we still know that there is still 5 or 10% of the data, significant data stays on the laptops. So we need the continuous data protection, it's a mechanism to help to protect the people on the edge. And because we written the new client that allows to use the Spectrum Protect API on the client side, we can use the Spectrum Protect dedupe and compression. And you know that the deduplication is a global in the container pools on a Spectrum Protect. So we have in 800 users, we send in roughly between 5 and 10 gigs only the unique data in the daily ingest operations. So the dedupe is really efficient because most of the data is quite the same. And what is more, customer feel really confident because people who work in the office or right now at home, they have the option to come back to the specific version from the seconds point of view, because we are always sending the changes. So imagine the ransomware attack that we can come back to the minute before the attack was occurred. So it's really lightweight way to protect even 1,000 or 10,000 of the users on the edge using the Spectrum Protect and the Codo endpoint. So I really
obviously incredibly important now, especially so timely.
Yeah. So this is the next use case, and I believe I close on this too. So I don't.
Very good.
Let's keep keep you for the next episodes.
That's right.
There
Yeah,
you
we
go.
need a cliffhanger for the next for the sequel.
And so just before we wrap up here, Paul, can you give us any parting words that you'd like to leave with any IBM partner or IBM seller about kind of finding you, partnering with you, that sort of thing?
Is it worth to partner with me? You mean?
Sure.
No, of course no.
I disagree. I think you need some backup singers in your band. I think you should get people
That's right.
partnering with you.
Yeah. Okay. So call to action. So if you're playing on a guitar or whatever, on your wife's nerves or whatever, but if you're doing right now the Spectrum Protect installation or Spectrum Protect Plus, and you're looking for someone, I don't want to say add-ons or enhancement, but you're looking for a company who can fulfill the customer needs or even gives you the ability to be more comprehensive or even competitive against the other players that we've seen lately on the market. Do not hesitate, contact Storware team. We will advise you how to do it in a proper way from the Spectrum Protect perspective, but also we'll give you, and we try to give you what we've done the best in the last years, like our products. So feel free to play with it. Be cruel, giving us a feedback. We'll make the software better maybe in the next releases. We always, have the open conversation between our partners and the customers. And I believe that it will give you the attitude to stay on the Spectrum Protect installation, but also maybe will give you some insights or the ideas how to reinvent the way how to speak about the Spectrum Protect in the end, or the Spectrum Protect Plus today, as a complete solution with the, if you will see the both companies. But remember, it's not only about Storware, it's also about the whole, I'm saying technology partners, like others who are in your podcast, that they have the, also the elements of the passion and the way how to execute. But remember, if you will have the other hypervisors or the office or the laptops or the management, you should know that there is a company that loves Backup Monster, and they are quite crazy. So they cannot speak English. They're trying, but we're trying to all the time polish in our English because we are from Poland. But I believe we are at a good contact, so do not hesitate to contact us or try us.
Awesome.
Thanks, Paul. I want to just say you guys are a great technology partner of the IBM Spectrum portfolio. I appreciate your passion. I'm super happy you joined us here this morning, and we look forward to working with you here in the future.
Same here.
Thanks, Paul. This was great. Continued success for Storware. You guys are doing an awesome job, and we'll definitely. I think you've definitely secured your future participation in the podcast. So thank you for that too. And
or protect.
Right. Yes, exactly. So well done. Rock on. Good job. Great to have you. And thanks.
Thank you.
All right, gang, with that, we are done. And thanks again, Paul. Thanks again, Randy. And we look forward to seeing you on a new broadcast.